that, as I said, India has more digital financial transactions than the USA, than the China, USA or Europe, and USA and Europe put together we do more transactions. The third is the new NLFS survey reveals that there's been a sharp decline in fertility rates. So India's population will stabilize in future, very sharp decline. The fourth is, I don't know whether any of you know this, but there are more internet users now in Indian village than in Indian cities. So the ability, the spread of 4G, 5G will actually create digital consumers in all our rural areas. And the fifth is that, as I said, there'll be millions and millions of people getting into urbanization by 2050. And India, the last bit is not known, but it's very critical that if India is to grow, it can't grow without women. Almost 50% of India's population is women, according to the new NLFS survey. And therefore, what it demonstrates is that unless you don't do women empowerment in your own companies, you don't do gender equity, and unless you don't bridge the gender digital divide, and unless you don't make women champions. And even in this conference, I find very few women. The men are over-numbering the women. So Gartner, you better make sure that there are more women in future in your conferences. And therefore, my view is that not merely India, but the world will need what we did in G20 is to call as women, and what the Prime Minister terms as women-led development. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us, men, to ensure that we put women into positions of leadership so that they are able to empathize and move forward. This is critical. And these are, to my mind, the 6 key trends that are really going to shape India. I've spoken about digitization to some extent, but it's important to say that we are the second biggest mobile phone users. We have brought over 550 million people into the formal banking system. We have over 700 districts covered by 5G services. And what this has led to 96% reduction in data costs. And it's important to understand what this did. This enabled this ability to have data, this ability to have digital identity, actually ensured that, when a company like Jio came in and started doing, opening up the market through Jio, it was able to acquire over 350, 400 million customers in 1 year time. And they were able to do it because the cost of, it was all paperless, cashless. They were acquiring customers because of this, Aadhaar. And the cost of acquiring a customer, which is $150 in the United States of America, and in India was about $100 because of paperwork, cross-checking, this, that, had fallen down to less than $1. So the cost of acquisition of a customer has fallen down because of technology. And therefore you will see increasingly a huge amount of expansion into rural areas, and many of these young startups have moved into rural areas because of the ability to acquire acquisition of customer has fallen very radically. So let me just say that when we started the India startup story, there were just about 110 startups. Today we have over 110,000. We have 156 startups actually. Today we have 110,000 startups. We have the third best ecosystem. Many of these startups which I talked about are actually national assets because they're built on the back of the digital infrastructure. We have over 115 unicorns. But the size and scale of reforms which I talked about is important to dwell a little bit on this, and this is important that what we've done in the last 8 to 9 years. We made 40 million houses. Forget the data there. Stop taking slides. Don't stop using your mobile phone. It's important for you to understand what India has achieved. In the last 8 years, we made 40 million houses. That's like making a house for every single Australian. That's more than the population of Australia. We've made 115 million toilets, which is more than the population of Germany. So actually we've created toilets for the entire population of Germany. We've provided pipe water connection to 253 million Indians, which is more than the population of Brazil. That means we provided water connection to every single citizen of Brazil. We've done 88,000 square kilometers of roads. That's the scale of transformation which India has done in the last 8 years. And that's why the Bank of International Settlement has said that what India has achieved in the last 8 years would normally have taken India 50 years to achieve. 50 years to achieve. And therefore the infrastructure has been built. And therefore, providing affordable houses, pipe water connection, all this, or providing health insurance to 500 million people. 500 million people means twice the population of Europe. We provided cashless, paperless health insurance for people to move from Bihar to Tamil Nadu and vice versa. You have health insurance. So, ladies and gentlemen, enabling infrastructure is critical, urbanization is critical, making your enterprises more competitive is very important because wealth is largely created by private sector. So where can India reach by 2047? India can reach, if you do that massive acceleration of growth, with these challenges being used as an opportunity, your GDP would be close to about 38 trillion, your per capita income would be $25,000, you would have lifted every single Indian above the poverty line. And for that to happen, it's very important that states grow. India grows when states grow. And if you look, I've drawn up this slide just to show you that if you grow at 6%, what happens? If you grow at 10%, what happens with these states? Just look at a state like Uttarakhand. If it grows at 6%, it'll be per capita income will be 12,527, but if it grows at 10%, it goes up to 34,000. That's the kind of compounding power of growth of growing at 10%. And therefore, the hunger and ambition amongst CIOs must be to make their companies grow at 20% to enable India to grow at 10%. This is important. And ladies and gentlemen, all this can happen. All this can happen because you are in the midst of a disruption. If you are able to make a technological leapfrogging into completely new areas of growth. It will not happen if you keep doing garments. It will not happen if you keep doing food processing. Look at China. One company, CATL, controls 75% of the battery stored in the world. 75% of the battery stored. Look at a company like BYD. It produces more cars than electric cars than Tesla. If Europe was to allow BYD to get in Europe, it will finish off Mercedes, it will finish off BMW, it will finish off Audi. Therefore, the size and scale is critical. And this has to be done in all sunrise areas of growth. These are the frontier technologies.